flicker of a neon light. Truth hides deep in the dead of night. Voices whisper what they can't say. Shadows dancing, leading us astray. Bloodstained whispers on the air. Clues unravel but don't play fair. 1,000 faces with hollow eyes. The truth's a ghost that never dies. Chasing shadows through the grind. Searching answers in the crime. Twisted paths we walk in vain. The truth's a counter, we're the game. Empty rooms with secrets loud. Lies are woven into the crowd. Fingers pointed, no one's clean. The truth's a thread, sharp and unseen. Every step's a deeper dive. The past won't let the present survive. A puzzle's pieces soaked in sin. The truth's a battle we can win. Chasing shadows through the grind. Searching answers in the crime. Twisted paths we walk in vain. The truth's a counter, we're the game. We're the game. We're the game. We're the game. Shadows through the grind. Searching answers in the crime. Twisted paths we walk in vain. The truth's a hunter, we're the game. Chasing shadows through the grind. Searching answers in the crime. Twisted paths we walk in vain. The truth's a hunter, we're the game.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, governors.
Up here. Okay. Where's my comments? There they are. Oh,
You want them on stage with you?
that actually might be easier.
Yeah, I just flipped the switch for you.
Okay.
Flip the switch.
We got a few of you. Hi, SRB.
Come on in, share it out, please.
Alicia and Tandy. Trish. Thanks, guys. We'll hang out just a few minutes. Because Lord knows I don't want to repeat.
Backtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
give it a few minutes for everybody to jump in here.
Exactly.
I shared it out through Twitter and the Discord and all that fun stuff. So hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you.
I linked it. I think SRB linked it to you before we ended the other show.
Sweet. So here's a question for you guys to think about.
Wow, Tandy. Jeez.
Yes, I did. Because for whatever reason, and I don't know what it is, every time I go live, I get super, super duper nervous. I mean, my heart was just like racing. My hands were shaking. And he has admin, so if things get to moving around and played with, it's him, not me.
Just making sure everything's working. Hi.
Just saying.
Hello, everybody. was wondering why we were sitting down in the corner, like, we're down here. Hi, way down here.
Because I was playing with my video stuff,
He's
so I had
pushing buttons.
myself out of the way. Yeah, I was pushing buttons.
Mm-hmm. It is great to see you all. Thank you for being here, and hopefully everybody else shows up too. Why do we kill people? To kill people, to teach people that killing is wrong. That's an amazing question.
Exactly.
Really is a question. An amazing question. Just saying.
Yeah, I thought I was looking for pictures and just stock photos of stuff, and it was on somebody's like protest sign, and I was like, that is awesome. Like, I'm gonna use that for that live.
I think that should be a T-shirt, Cassie, if you're in here. Why do we kill people? To teach people that killing is wrong. That's an awesome. Are you? Tandy's over here singing Eminem lyrics.
Oh, I wrote that wrong. Hold on a minute.
What, on the streamer thing?
Mm-hmm.
I just noticed that it said something twice. Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything though. Knees weak, arms are sweaty, vomit on a sweater. Jesus, Tandy, you're a mess. Where is the tomboy? And Cassie and everybody else? Better go get your butts over
There
here.
we go.
We need Molly in here.
Why do we kill people who kill people to teach people that killing is wrong?
Mm.
Tomboy's napping. Hmm.
Okay. Oh boy.
All right.
And after this is done, guys, if we could all jump into the mod chat just for a quick conversation, since we didn't get to, that would be wonderful.
All right, mister. Do you want no? Are you going to want out now that I shut the door?
No, I'm stuck here. Don't worry. I'm good.
The girls are playing a video game and they get loud.
She locked me in with her, guys. I'm scared.
And of course, Matt's not in here. So
Oh, then he's going to want out, because if he can't find Matt, he's going to start crying. You know that.
Exactly. No, she's going to be leaving in a minute to take him to the appointment. SRB's taking
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Nicholas.
I forgot her excuses she was throwing out in the chat this morning. Yes.
Yeah. Cassie's here.
There's the Cassie.
Thank
Cassie,
you, honey.
write this down. What Mama Bear put in the ticker at the bottom of her screen, we need to make that into a T-shirt. Why do we kill people? To teach people not to kill people. Say that again 3 times.
Why do we kill people who kill people? To teach people that killing is wrong.
There you go. That's how you say it. Yes, excuses. That would be a great T-shirt, I think. Because it's an amazing question. Oh, I'm going to yell at everybody tomorrow. You watch it. You watch.
That's all right.
You watch me.
Maybe I'll watch it later.
They better. Yes, I need to see if he needs meds for his snot. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, we all need snot meds. Everybody needs their snot meds.
Yep. If you got snot.
Mm-hmm.
Or baby.
If you got snot, you need meds. And if not, then there's no snot.
Yeah.
That's another t-shirt you could make. Don't do that. Just kidding.
I was gonna say, don't give her any idea.
Just kidding. Don't do that. I'm like, Cassie's like, yes, I will.
All
Anyway,
right. Well,
by the way, your intro music is amazing. You did a great job with that. Your intro video is amazing. You did an amazing job with that.
thank you.
Everything looks amazing. I'm very, very proud of what you've done. You're awesome. You're doing great.
Thank you. He's highly prone to sinus infections. He had. Ew. I don't think I could ever do sinus.
Let's get rid of his nose. Cut his nose off and be done. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
It is. Yes, the intro is amazing. I love that, Mama Bear. Seriously, you did amazing.
Thank you.
I think I don't know which outro you chose when we talked about that earlier, but
The first one, the original one.
Then that's gonna be amazing. This whole thing is awesome. I love it.
And I just used the same one for the outro and just switched up things so it says thank you and that kind of thing stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. You're doing amazing. I love it.
Oh, which one of these?
Hey, Miss Paula. Good to see you.
Hello, Paula.
Wonder if there's anywhere else.
Thank you for being here, honey.
We got to get you in an algorithm. That's why. That way this will pop up in people's feeds and boom, boom, boom. So we got to get more of this going. Everybody, please go share this out wherever you can. Let everybody know that Mama Bear's in here doing her thing.
It was terrible, but it helped so much. Really? Ugh. I guess I know what's involved with sinus surgery. So it's like, nope, no, thank you.
I will be miserable. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
It ain't no joke. Both my twins had it. Bad.
No. No, thank you. Yeah, and just can't. This one. Just a fun fact, in 2020, approximately 1,122 murders involved juvenile offenders. Guess I'm looking for my other.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
It really is. That's sad to see that today's youth has gone in that direction in such a bad way.
Yeah.
You know, when we were younger, we were worried about toys and building forts and kickball and baseball, riding our bikes, skateboards, and now it's like, how old do you have to be a criminal now? You know, it's flipping insane.
Well, I think the next one that I talk about is about a 14-year-old boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just insane to me at that age. I can't imagine at 14. Think about what we were doing at 14 years old, you guys.
Yeah.
As compared to these kids now. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, as I had mentioned the other day in chat, since the 1970s, there's been approximately 200 people or death row inmates that have been exonerated. So I was still so naive. Yeah, exactly. Same. I was naive too. I mean, who would think? Anyway.
we all were, truly.
Yeah.
Things were a lot more innocent back then than they are now. And today, you have people that the same age that are looking at carrying guns to protect themselves, or we're talking about having kids, and I mean, what?
Yeah, it's wild.
It just makes no sense. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So had been exonerated, that they had found that were innocent, but they still did multiple years. Some did maybe 7 years, some did 17 years, some did 20 years, 30 years before everything went through and they were found innocent. So this was from the Innocence Network website, and this is national. So it says 2,662 exonerations since 1989, and then 23,770 collective years spent wrongfully incarcerated. Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane.
That is insane. And the demographics, which it fluctuates depending on what website you look at. This one, of the exonerated people, 49% were Black, 37% were white, 12% were Latinx, and 2% were other. So there was more of African Americans that were incarcerated and innocent and then exonerated. So contributing factors that go into wrongful convictions: perjury or false accusation, official misconduct, eyewitness misidentification, inadequate legal defense, false or misleading forensic evidence, and false confession. And what brought me to talk about the death penalty and all these statistics and things was the Brian Kohberger case, because we've already talked about official misconduct and we haven't even made it to trial yet. And there it is right there. The second, 54% are wrongfully convicted because of official misconduct. So that kind of blew my mind. Let me see. Oops, I got some of these.
Cool. Outcast is coming on over to hang out too, he said.
Oh, make me even more nervous.
Oh, it's okay. Quit it. It's part of the crew, the community. We're all one.
I know.
You're doing amazing.
The BGA, CWC, CWC is causes of wrongful convictions. Investigation found that an array of overlapping reasons contributed to the 85 cases of wrongful conviction. Multiple causes can impact one case. In the majority of those cases, alleged government mistakes or misconduct played a role, as did some other non-government related causes. So the dark orange are the government, the lighter orange is the other. So 23 of 84 were alleged ineffective assistance of counsel. 29 cases were questionable forensic evidence or testimony. Sound familiar? 30 were incentivized witness testimony. 33 was false confession. Richard Allen. 44 were alleged prosecutorial misconduct or error. Haven't we heard something about
Prosecutorial misconduct?
Yeah, my tongue doesn't.
You're good. You're good. It's all good. Welcome, Outcast. Good to see you, brother. Thank you for supporting Mama Bear. We appreciate you very much, bro.
Thank you, Outcast, for being here. I appreciate it. Erroneous, I think that's how you say it, eyewitness identification, and alleged police misconduct or error.
So imagine that one.
Right?
It's a lot. It's a lot, you guys. It's a lot.
It is. And then,
And like she said, real quick, not to interrupt, but
mhm,
this
no,
really does relate to what we've been following with the Idaho case. This is why we cover the Idaho case. This is why
right,
Outcast on his channel goes and breaks down these audios to try to see what we're really trying, what's really going on in the audio so that we can hear it. Why I talk about what I talk about, why she talks about what Mama Bear talks about, Sarge, Jesse, all of us, because this is where this is that important, guys. We're trying to find truth here. And if we don't, this is what's going to happen. It's insane. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
it's okay. Um, so paying for injustice. I think this is for Illinois. Yeah, Illinois taxpayers, especially those living in Chicago, have paid a hefty price for wrongful convictions. Those painful payments are expected to continue. So for 85 wrongful convictions, 81 cases involving government misconduct or error, 926 years spent in prison is a total of 214 million total cost to taxpayers.
Can you imagine where that money would go if they would just get their heads out of their ass and do the right thing?
Exactly.
Hmm.
I was like 214 million. Blows my mind.
Such a waste.
Yeah. And then I didn't realize, and it made me think of Richard Allen. Um, the Eighth Amendment um, states, let me get, or prohibits excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted.
Gee.
So everything that they did to Richard Allen was against the Constitution.
Every single thing. Yes. You are right. Great catch. Especially the bail. Does anybody remember what Richard Allen's bail was set at? Oh, wait.
I didn't
There
even
wasn't,
have bail.
there wasn't one. But yeah, basically false incarceration because there was no reason to hold him. There was no
Right.
bail set. There was the way he was treated while he was in prison. So yeah,
Hmm.
everything. You're right. They basically took the Constitution and wiped their ass with it. With him is what they did, in my
Yep.
opinion. Sorry for the language, but yes.
No, you're fine. Yeah. Um, this one is again on the exonerations. An average of 4 wrongly convicted death row prisoners have been exonerated each year since 1973. Florida has had 30, Illinois 22, Texas 18, um, Pennsylvania 13. That wouldn't be LA, it would be Louisiana, 12, North Carolina 12, Arizona, Ohio, and Oklahoma 11, California 8, Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi, Missouri, something. Anyway, 7 and on. We're not.
I don't remember them all either. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's just a lot of people.
Yeah. By race again, you'll see it fluctuates because there was a bigger gap on the other one. But the death row prisoners by race, there's 40% are black, 42 are white, Latino or Latina, 14%, others 3%. Death row prisoners by state just since October 1st of 2024 is a total of 2,180.
Wow.
Yes. California has 613.
No way.
Yeah.
Cali, that makes sense though. California's a busy state, and there's probably a lot of crime that goes on. But still, I mean,
Florida has 289.
mhm, that's probably a good run in second. We're always talking about Florida, so yeah, and
Yep.
Florida, Texas, and Cali are probably the 3 worst.
Yep. Texas has 177.
Yeah, see what's happening, Feminem and LLO. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, that's crazy, Bear.
Isn't
Truly,
it?
it is. And I just can't get past the amount of money that is spent. For those of you that just popped in here, what was it? 234
214 million.
wasted on this. Yeah. There could be such an easy, like so much money saved on this. And again, these are people that are put in here as well shouldn't be in here, mind you. Okay, that are wrongly convicted. Remember that too. That's a big deal. So,
Yeah.
mm-mm, mm-mm. That's a good point. Sorry, Mama Bear. I'm not trying to take over, but
Oh
that's
no, you're fine.
what I get upset about is they never show us the Native American, never with anything.
Right. That's always in the. From what I read, it was always in the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember if it was the Innocent Project website or the death penalty website. One of the two stated that Hispanics are added into the white count. And I was like, what? Why would they do that?
Yeah, right.
That doesn't even make sense.
AIO review, death row in the United States, a statistical analysis of 2024. As of January of this year, 23 individuals identified as Native American were on death rows across the country since 1976, 21 natives.
Americans have been executed. This represents a small percentage of the total executions in the United States. See, that's wrong.
And how many of these people were not didn't commit a crime? There's the problem. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you, Alicia. Alicia, we're gonna start calling Alicia Google.
She's so Google quick. Girl.
Right, she's so quick. Very appreciative.
There it is. And with all these numbers, keep this in mind. There was 4 states that have executions on hold. I think Ohio has lifted theirs because either they executed one already this year. If not, they're going to make it up later in the year. And then next year, they have a whole list of Ohio people. That surprised me. But 23 states do not have the death penalty. 23. And there's still 2,100 and I think it's 80. And then there's 27 states with the death penalty.
And they're looking at bringing the death penalty to the states too, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. I mean, there's got to be different ways to do this. I understand. Like, I don't know what your views are on the death penalty, Mom Bear. We haven't really ever talked about that, but I don't believe in taking people's lives for no reason, obviously. Okay.
Right.
We all stand against that to an extent, but I feel like, and I know this sounds stupid to say this, but I feel like when it comes to like children and, families, women, things like that, if you, an eye for an eye, that's my feeling, that, but the problem is sometimes I don't feel that it's just to do it in certain senses with it. Like somebody like Stephen Stearns.
Right.
Bye. You know what I mean? Bye.
But if you think about it, think of all of the kids' cases that we've actually seen a trial. Okay, Quentin Simon, no death penalty. Baby Evelyn, no death penalty. What was the other one that we just watched recently? Darn it, I can't think. But anyway, there was another one. The one in the trash can. Oh, that makes me so mad. But anyway, no death penalty. Why? Because they're women? Because they're moms? What? Montgomery's one. That's another one. Yeah, there is a long list. So I'll think of it eventually.
Fallow.
Yeah. No, this one wrapped her kid with the foil and the baby in the trash can in the back.
That was Megan Boswell, yeah.
Boswell. Okay, Megan Boswell. There we go.
Somebody wanted to say hi to you real quick.
Hi, Juniper.
Hi.
Good to see you. You look so pretty today.
Thanks.
You're welcome. But none of them get the death penalty, and it's you very rarely even hear them even mention it. Is it
No.
because they're women? I mean, women have been executed before, so I don't understand. It seems
It's kind of
biased.
biased. Thank you. What was it? Eileen Warnos? She got the death penalty, right?
I believe
That's
so.
that's the only one I can think of besides Stormy Jane. For her grandmother ended up with death penalty. I can't remember her name, but those are the only two women I've ever seen in history that ever got death penalty. I may not have looked far enough, but still.
Right. I can't
Phil.
find Huh?
There's far Phil.
Phil. Hi.
Very important subject.
There are women on death row. I don't know where I put that number, but anyway, obviously it's not as many, not even close to as many as the men. The other part is there are 5 different forms of execution. You have old school hanging, you've got electrocution, lethal gas, lethal injection, and the firing squad. I don't know that anybody does hangings anymore.
I don't think so. Any place I know. I have, if you want real quick, just to catch up, I have a list of women that are on death row. Would you like me to describe real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Patricia Blackmon. She was convicted in the death of her 2-year-old adopted daughter, Dominica Bryant. She's been there for 22 years and 11 months, guys, and 26 days. It's a long time to sit. Tara Capri Gobble, 19 years, 6 months she's been sitting. And again, she was convicted of the death of her 4-month-old son. And again, it says the infant suffered extensive bruising, fractures of the skull, head, and wrists. Lisa Leanne Graham, 9 years, 3 months, 7 days, convicted of capital murder for persuading a family friend to gun her daughter down on a remote dirt road. So she convinced one of her other family friends to kill her own child.
Oh my God.
Heather Lavelle Keaton, 9 years, 9 months, 13 days. She murdered her common law husband's children, 3-year-old Chase DeBlaze, 4-year-old Natalie DeBlaze. And she did it by poisoning and then strangled them. This is disgusting, I swear. Christy Michelle Scott, 16 years, 9 months, and 28 days. This was Russellville, Alabama. There was a fire, and her 6-year-old son, Mason Scott, had purchased a $100,000 life insurance policy on her son 12 hours before his death. Disgusting. Samantha Allen, 7 years, 9 months. Doesn't give me suffocated a child, I believe. I'm sorry. Wendy Andriano, 20 years, 5 months, 11 days. She was convicted of murdering her husband, bludgeoned him to death. Shauna Ford, 14 years, 3 months, and 11 days. I can't find one on that one. I'm sorry. This is something to do with a vigilante nativist group. I'm sorry. Rosie Alfaro, 32 years, 10 months, 19 days, for killing 9-year-old Autumn Wallace. Sakaro Caro, 23 years, 1 month, 28 days, shooting and killing 3 of her 4 young sons as they slept. Celeste Carrington, 30 years, 6 months, 10 days. She admitted to the fatal shooting of Victor Esperanza. I remember that one in 1992. Cynthia Kaufman, 35 years, 9 months, and 2 days. Her and her boyfriend kidnapped and robbed Sandra Neary, Pamela Simmons, Karina Novus, and Linnell Murray. 1986. I'm sorry. Carrie Dalton, 30 years, 10 days. Torturing and murdering Irene Louise in 1988 at a in Live Oak Springs, California. Sorry. There was actually 3 others too that she worked with this with, but Skylar Precocia de Leon, 16 years, 1 month, 23 days. She murdered Thomas and Jackie Hawks. Veronica Gonzalez, her and her husband were convicted of the 95 scalding death of their 4-year-old niece, 26 years and 11 months and 13 days. Jessica Hahn, 11 years, 3 months for her 2-month-old daughter, Montana's death. Lorraine Hunter, 7 years, 5 months, 25 days. She shot her husband to gain money from life insurance. Cherie Lash Rhodes shot 6 people in Cedarville in Alturas. 8 years, 1 month, and 13 days. Belinda Magna, 10 years, 25 days. I can't get that one clear. Valerie D. Martin, her and her 16-year-old son killed a 14-year-old boy and a 27-year-old ex-convict, Christopher Martin, I believe. 15 years, 2 months, and 7 days. Maureen McDermott. She hired an orderly at a hospital where she worked to kill her roommate. 34 years, 11 months, and 25 days. There's a lot.
Yeah.
So I could go on and on, you guys. There's this list. I think this is every state. We have 1 here in Ohio, Victoria Drain. No, 2. And Donna Roberts. I know Donna Roberts personally. She used to own the bus station that we had here. She coded her husband to collect life insurance.
Oh.
Yeah, that was downtown Warren, Ohio, where I was born. And I don't think you have. Let me see. I'm sorry. I should have named the states, you guys. My apologies. I thought this was a different type of a list, but I guess it wasn't. There's a lot. There's quite a few, actually. I thought there was only 9 of them or 10 of them, but there seems to be quite a few women on death row. Darlie Routier, we all know who she is, and I don't believe she should be there. She's been there for 28 years, 3 months, 29 days. Taylor Renee Parker, 2 years, 6 months, 24 days. Melissa Lucio, 16 years. Brittany Holberg, 27 years. And that was a robbery and murder. Linda Carty, Kimberly Cargill, Christina Pike. That's pretty much it. So anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that to be so long.
No, you're fine.
It's just interesting, to see that
very
29 years. Like for instance, not to bring this up or anything, but the reason why I'm in true crime is one of my friends was murdered by somebody back in 1984. And he's been on death row for 40 years, folks. 40 years. And all of that money that's being wasted on taking care of these people.
What is his name?
Danny Lee Hill.
I was going to look at those scheduled and see if...
He's coming up in 26, they said. I think SRB showed us that. Finally. Because of the appeal process.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Even with the innocent ones, it took 7 years, 17 years, 20 years.
These are innocent people that still,
Mm-hmm.
That's the insane part to that. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
Vallow. I don't know if Vallow. I don't even follow that too closely, but did Vallow get the death penalty?
No, somebody said she got life.
Okay, then probably not LL.
Half of prisoners have been on death row for more than 20 years. Half of them.
So how many lives, Mama Bear, have been thrown away, wasted, and taken away from people, innocent people that have been wrongly convicted because people just didn't do their jobs or couldn't do their jobs?
I don't think I ever got an exact. Let me see. I don't think I was able to find. It says typically spend more than a decade on death row prior to exoneration or execution. Some prisoners have been on death row for well over 20 years. There's only certain. That was what else was interesting. Crimes are punishable by death only by imposed for which a victim is killed, but state legislators can determine what specific circumstances make a murder eligible for a death sentence. And I was like, huh, that shouldn't be that way. And there's also, I don't know where I lost all my notes, so some of this coming off the top of my head. There is a certain number of states remaining that you have to have a unanimous vote from the jury in order to give the death penalty. If it's not unanimous, then they won't get the death penalty.
Wow.
Yeah. Trying to see if I can figure out.
I do have a couple. I have some things to add to this for you that I had pulled up.
Yeah.
If you want it, of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought this was quite interesting. While you're looking for that, I went through this. I was reading through this the other day when she sent me the info on what she was doing, and a death penalty information center analysis of 185 death row exonerations shows that most wrongful convictions are not merely accidental. Can you believe that? That is like this. Wow. And this relates back to, in my opinion, the Brian Koberger case.
Right.
The biggest dangers they're saying are police prosecutorial misconduct and knowingly false testimony, folks. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a whole thing, guys. This is how many, this map here, okay, shows how many death row exonerations there have been. That is insane. For that many people to be convicted and put on death row, to be exonerated is insane to me. Okay? Which tells me there's that many investigations that have been either purposely screwed up, they've been lazy, or just whatever. I mean, and that's scary. Okay? Because death row is not, well, you're going to jail for 10 years and you'll be out. No, this is final.
Yeah, death is final.
Right. You can't come back from this. It just scares the death out of me in some ways because truly,
yeah.
You know, yeah, this is an interesting article I was reading through the other day, yesterday actually, and it's got a lot of info on this. The death penalty.
I love that website.
Very, very knowledgeable.
Yes. I can't find it, but
sorry.
There's very few that are left with that. So it only takes, one person to say no to save your life.
Right. There's a list here real quick too of the remaining executions scheduled for this year.
That's what I was looking for. Because I was going to look at, you said 26. So I was, yep, there he is.
Right. Scheduled for July 22nd of 26. I'm probably going to bawl my eyes out that day, you guys, because it's been 40 years that I've been waiting to see this happen.
Yeah.
This is all Ohio.
I know. The next year is too.
Yeah. These are all Ohio, guys. All the way up to 28. This is all Ohio.
Yeah. I mean, Ohio has been on hold since the last 5 years, I believe. Yep. 2020.
And how do you do that? How do you, I mean, in some ways, maybe it's good because if the Innocence Project is researching this, trying to prove certain people innocent, then thank God. But at the same time, this Denny Lee Hill, there's no doubt that he did what he did. That's a different story. But
right.
The people that we don't know about, like that's scary to me because they just don't know.
The fact that the cases that get botched when they are executed is
that's bad.
Yeah. So it doesn't sound as bad the way I'm putting it, but
there it is.
So like for hangings, there was 2,721 of those. Right 85 there. Of those were botched.
And when you have a botched hanging, folks, that's either it's bad. The neck gets broken, and thank you,
Have
Phil.
Fun, Phil. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Phil. Good, congratulations on him again, and good luck. Yeah, a botched hanging, folks, is disgust. It's bad.
Yeah. And then the electric chair or electrocution, 4,374 people, with 84 botched. I don't even want to know on that.
Yeah,
That, mm, mm.
you don't. You don't.
um, lethal gas. There's been 593, which I was surprised. I didn't realize they had done it that much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was 32 that were
That
botched.
that's
Lethal injection was 1,054 with 75 botched. And then the firing squad, there's only been 34 of those. None
and
of
there's
those have been botched.
what and think about that. And you
Right.
can't botch, you really can't botch that one, in my opinion. Which that's probably good, but still,
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at the numbers and it doesn't look that bad, but it is bad.
it's horrible. It's horrible.
The guy that they just executed here in Indiana this year, they questioned if it was botched or not. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I didn't even hear the details of why they questioned it, but
Yeah.
I was like, here we go.
Oh, there was back in a report in Salt Lake City Tribune takes a different view of the suggestion that there have been no botched executions by firing squads since 1890. It reports that in September of 1951, a Utah firing squad shot Alicio Marez in the hip and abdomen, and that it was several minutes before he was declared dead. See, that's horrible, folks. That's
Yeah.
adding suffering to a situation that doesn't need to exist. That's crazy. Wow. I love
Yeah.
this website.
I do too. You asked me my opinion on the death penalty. I have flip-flopped so many times over the years.
Me too. I get
I
it.
would say back in high school, I was probably all for it. I was like, you know what? You kill somebody, you should be killed as well. There was one of my kids' teachers, her husband was a sheriff, or not a sheriff, but a deputy.
Mhm.
And he went to serve a search warrant, ended up in a chase. The guy ended up shooting him and killing him. And I was furious, and I was like, he needs to be, put to death. But then
But
there's other times I'm like my question, why do we kill people who kill people to teach them that killing people is wrong?
not to kill people, right? That's a
I
good
mean,
point.
you can't do the same thing to somebody to show that it's wrong. I
Is
mean,
this is what I struggle with, and I agree with you. It's not teaching. It doesn't
you're
make
just
sense.
doing the same thing
Yeah,
that
it
they
doesn't.
did.
Right. It doesn't make sense. That's where my struggle is. It truly is, and this is a good conversation piece. I agree, because when it comes to children, okay, like I
Mhm.
said, you know this. When it comes to children, there's no holds barred with me. I can't. I just have a
Mhm.
bad. You know how I feel about that kind of stuff,
Right.
and I know you're not doing anything, but you're just basically reinstilling, in my opinion, in what they did. You're doing the
Mhm.
same thing they did. So yeah, it makes no sense.
Right.
But
So what makes them any better than the criminal?
and that's understood. It really is. It's a good point. Very good point. It's a flip floppy thing. It really truly is. Hey,
Mhm.
Fizzy.
Hey, Fizzy.
And I agree with you. It's a very interesting topic. As far as the psychology behind it. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah. And then,
Right,
and I know
feminine.
we don't do hangings anymore. Lethal injection, I don't know that I agree with that either, because they have had so many issues with executing people.
They've had
Um,
a lot of botches on that one.
yeah. And the case that I'm going to tell you guys about here in a minute, um, not only was he executed an innocent, but it possibly was also botched. on top of that. So it's like, wow.
Which one is that? What's his name?
His name is Carlos DeLuna.
Okay. You want me to pull this down?
It don't matter. I'm good
I mean,
right
I
now.
don't know if you got any. Okay.
The gas chamber, I completely disagree with.
That's torturous, kind of, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you suffocate.
Yeah, that's no. I don't agree with that one. I agree with you. That's one of my worst fears is not being able to catch my breath or to breathe. And that's absolute torture to me. Yes, I agree. Hey, love.
And then the only other thing then is, the firing squad. And I think I'd rather take my chances with that than
I'm with you. I think, I mean, if you're
any
gonna
of
have,
the others.
if you're gonna go through this, it needs to be quick. Boom, you're done. That's it.
Yeah.
And truly, I mean, in my opinion, hanging, it takes time. Electrocution takes time. The gas, it takes time. Lethal injection takes time.
Yeah.
Firing squad, if they do it right, boom, you're done. It's over. There's no torture to it, in my opinion.
Right. I agree. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen this. And this one looks
I pull it down.
okay.
Here. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Thank you guys for joining us. I hope you guys are.
I mean, this one kind of looks, I mean, maybe they all look this fancy, but no, I don't.
Mm-mm.
No, thank you. That's a gas chamber. I get short of breath just looking at this picture.
Yeah, that's scary. And people stand here and watch this. I don't understand that. Now,
Yeah.
here we are. Okay, if you're a parent of a child that was their life was taken,
Mm-hmm.
granted, there could be some form of satisfaction, I guess, at seeing this happen to the person that hurt your child or your loved one. Okay,
Right.
but to stand here and watch somebody, there's people that come to these that don't have any relation to the cases. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
to watch this and watch somebody suffer to death, I can't
Right.
understand.
It's just like the electric chair to sit
Yeah.
there and just watch them
Yeah,
suffer and fight it and whatever. It's just, it's disgusting.
I can't fathom that want or need to do that.
Yeah. No.
Right, Christy? It's sick, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And then
It does, Eminem. You're right.
I didn't know what it looked like.
I've never seen that one before. That's interesting.
For the firing squad, I didn't know how they did it.
My understanding is they just stand against a wall, stand the prisoner against a wall, and they have multiple shooters, and just that's it.
Well, this is, I don't know where it's at, but it's the picture. So you're strapped to this chair, it looks like.
Okay.
And then the bags to the side to catch any strays.
Right.
And they just pew, pew, pew.
That's I guess that's probably, in my opinion, the most humane way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Truly. The electric chair I've never been comfortable with. I've watched that happen many a times, and to watch first off, I've dealt with dealt with people that have been electrocuted.
Ugh.
It's not, no, just no.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that right, Phil. I can understand that. It's very traumatizing, you guys, for anybody, even somebody that's a loved one of somebody that was murdered or killed or something like that. To watch that, you can think that you're going to get satisfaction out of that, but after you're done, you tell me how you feel at that point. That's what I want to know.
Yeah. And we were talking about the Eighth Amendment. They're trying to, from my understanding, they're trying to get away from the solitary confinement.
It's inhumane, right?
It is humane, and it's part of the Eighth Amendment. It's cruel and unusual punishment that's being inflicted on these people. I mean,
there's documentaries out about this.
There's nothing. You have no interaction with anybody whatsoever. And if you go, and it's for like at least 22 hours a day that you are stuck in this box. And if you're lucky enough, you get to go outside, you're still in a cage alone. So it's like, what is. See, all of these are individual cages that the death row inmates, and they're out there by themselves. I cannot imagine the mental health aspect. Right, love, exactly. And yep, and the solitary aspect of it makes their mental health even worse. There's a story I want to do eventually as well. Is an inmate, female death row inmate, actually brought a lawsuit against the prison, I believe, uh, to try and get them to stop, to let her have more interactions outside of her cell. Because, I mean, as long as, just because they're on death row doesn't mean they shouldn't have interactions with other people, and that they're going to, you know, do things to people in there. I mean, they're still human beings at the end of the day. They may be not so nice human beings, but Trish, I don't either too often anymore, and I think that is a lot of the pandemic affected a lot of people and had them isolate, and we got used to it, and now to go out of that, it's hard for a lot of us to get into that social aspect. Yeah, LL, there is no easy answer. I agree.
No. There's some bad things that happen with this, guys. Some very bad things. Are you pulling something up, Mom Bear?
Yeah, unless you have something real quick.
I have another story that I had that went along with it about a botched lethal injection with prisoner Joe Nathan James. Just to give you guys a little insight, this is out of Alabama, folks. I remember this story when this happened too. It says a private. I don't know if are you familiar with this one?
Joe Nathan James.
Okay, so a private autopsy of Alabama death row prisoner Joe Nathan James Jr. suggests that unqualified corrections personnel subjected him to a torturous, hours-long execution process in a botched execution that experts say was the longest execution since the advent of the lethal injection 40 years ago, guys. This is insane. It described a reporter, Elizabeth Boeing, in a August 15, 22 expose, failed attempts to set an intravenous execution line, puncture wounds in Mr. James's arm muscles that appear to be unrelated to efforts to insert the IV, multiple unexplained incisions, and bleeding and bruising around Mr. James's wrists where he was strapped to the gurney. Brunig called the execution lengthy and painful, and a doctor who attended the autopsy said the execution team that carried it out was unqualified for the task in a most dramatic way. The report bellies a representation of ADOC Commissioner John Hamm that nothing out of the ordinary occurred during the 3-hour period between the scheduled start of James' execution. Now, understand something. Somebody that dies by lethal injection, all they do is they put an IV in your arm or your wrist or your vein, okay, to go ahead and bring the poison in intravenously, and then you die. That's all that you should have to happen. This man had multiple bruises and cuts and unexplained puncture marks all over his arms and stuff. Like, for what reason? It's like they tortured him on purpose. If you don't know how, and if they were not trained to do this, obviously, and if that's the case, then you need to let somebody step in and do it that is, or did they not have that? This is
Yeah.
absolutely insane to me, and
Yeah,
it's
I
disgusting.
have questioned that because I did read that one of the biggest issues with lethal injection is finding the vein. And, if they were former drug users or whatever, then their veins are collapsed. Or if they have medical conditions, sometimes if you have failing kidneys, or, if you have
Yep.
cancer or cirrhosis or whatever, it affects your veins, and they can't get a good vein because they roll or they whatever, and so they end up sticking them and sticking them and sticking them, and then they give up and
Well,
they put
like
it
we're,
off and then they do it again.
and it shouldn't be that way. If you're
No.
not trained to do this, you shouldn't touch this person. Not at all. Okay. Period. Like for instance, this one, it says on the inside of his arm, his left arm, examiners found a jagged incision. Okay. I'm gonna tell you just out of experience. When you insert a needle into a vein, you slide it in through your skin into the vein, tape it
Mhm.
off, you're done.
Yeah.
There's no need for incisions, okay?
No.
So they found a jagged incision, which is about concluded was likely from a cut down, a
Oh my
medical procedure in which a deep cut is made to expose a vein. No, you don't need to do that, but it does happen, okay? I can't tell if local anesthetic was first infused into the skin, is slicing deep into the skin with a sharp surgical blade, and in an awake person without local anesthesia would be extremely painful. So they were cutting this man while he was wide awake, trying to expose the vein that they couldn't get to. Then you stop. That's all you do is stop. And you bring in
God.
somebody that's qualified to find the vein. You don't cut this man's arms up trying to pull a vein out to be able to inject this. This was insane. When I read this yesterday, I was like, what? It all
Yeah.
happened. And this happens more often than none, folks. My wife is a phlebotomist. She read this. She goes, there's so many other ways you can do this before doing a cut down. That's the
Oh
last
yeah.
possible thing. And being that this man was on death row and this was for his death, you don't need to do that. So it also says that Edgar said the shallow lacerations throughout James's arms were likely not part of the procedure, but were more likely incurred during a struggle that took place during the prolonged efforts to gain access to a vein, because the man was in pain
Hmm.
and he was strapped down. In turn, what do you when somebody inflicts pain on you, your body tries to reject it. That's normal, okay?
Right.
So I'm not going to go into the whole what came out with the truth and all this stuff on this when they did the investigation. The point is, folks, it happened and it's disgusting.
I don't know, Fizzy, but that's something I might look into. Um, I would think it would have to be a medically trained person to do that. You just don't want Joe Schmo.
I believe that they have to be, from part of the thing I read on this, and I did watch documentaries on this before. They have to be certified medical professionals. I don't think it has to be a doctor. There is a doctor on hand, though. There has to be, to call the time of death when it's over. But the doctor doesn't do this. There's a team that they have trained to do this. So it's really insane. It absolutely is insane.
Yeah.
I would I would think it should be a doctor doing it all, but
Yeah.
no. Thank
Um,
you, love. It's a sad, sad thing, but it's true.
yeah. Oh goodness. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you guys this story, and I got some videos and stuff that go with it. And I closed my folder. Gosh
Yes,
darn it.
ma'am. What if Mama Bear?
Hmm?
What if this was one of the people that was innocent that they were doing this to? And yeah, that makes it 300 times worse to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does. It's horrible.
Unbelievable.
Just yeah. Well, and that's like this guy Carlos. He still hasn't gotten a formal, is it exoneration?
Uh-huh. Oh, he's still not exonerated?
Well, not yet. They're working on it, I guess.
Wow.
I think they're still looking at it, but they haven't given him one.
What's his last name again?
DeLuna.
DeLuna. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So what?
That's right, Christy.
You offer a formal exoneration and an apology, and that's really all you can do.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, this was in Corpus Christi, Texas. Imagine that.
Surprise.
The night of February 4th, 1983. This is on the screen as Wanda Lopez. She was 24. She was a gas station attendant at the Shamrock, I don't know how to pronounce, Signor or something like that, gas station. She called 911 from the gas station. She was terrified. She told the dispatcher that a man was standing inside with a knife. Seconds later, she screams. Police arrived Police arrived very shortly after and found Wanda dying from multiple stab wounds. A gas station customer who saw the struggle described the attacker. The officer raced after a man whom other witnesses had also seen run by. When police finally found the man, Carlos DeLuna, hiding under a pickup truck, they arrested him and called off the search for the killer. When they pulled Carlos out from under the truck, he was not wearing a shirt, and there was no blood on him anywhere. No blood on his pants, no blood on his shoes, skin, nothing. Wanda Lopez had been stabbed once through the left breast with an 8-inch lock blade buck knife, which had cut an artery, causing her to bleed to death. Once Carlos was arrested, he told officers repeatedly, "I know who did it, so let me go, and I will tell you who did it." And he kept saying, "Let me go, let me go." So some of Carlos' background, his childhood and upbringing were marked by instability and adversity. He was raised in a 2-bedroom apartment with 5 siblings. Excuse me. After his parents divorced, his father's conviction of rape and later imprisonment had a significant impact on the family, and his father's departure, Carlos and his brother were placed in a local institution for youth due to their mother's inability to support them. He dropped out of school at 16 and was involved in a car accident as a juvenile, resulting in a negligent homicide charge. At the trial, Carlos told the jury that on the day of the murder, he had run into Carlos Hernandez. If you guys get confused, let me know. Whom he had known for approximately 5 years. They actually met in jail. The 2 men, who both lived in the southern Texas town of Corpus Christi, stopped off at a bar. Hernandez went over to the gas station, the Shamrock, to buy something, and when he didn't return, DeLuna went over to see what was going on. When he got there, he saw Hernandez inside the Shamrock wrestling with a woman behind the counter. DeLuna said he was afraid and started to run. He had his own police record for SA. Though he had never been known to own or use a knife, he feared getting into trouble again, so he just kept running. He was scared. He could hear the sirens of the police car screeching towards the gas station. He panicked and hid under the pickup truck, and then approximately 40 minutes later, he was arrested. Prosecutors told the jury that police had looked for this Carlos Hernandez without success. They had concluded that Hernandez was a fabrication, a phantom, who simply just didn't exist. The chief prosecutor said in summing up that Hernandez was a figment of DeLuna's imagination. On July 20th, 1983, the jury gave a guilty verdict. In Texas, there is a limited number of crimes for which you can be executed. One is murder during a robbery, murder during rape, and murder during kidnapping. Carlos DeLuna was offered life with the possibility of parole, but Carlos said, "No, Why should I go to prison for something I didn't do? I don't want to plead guilty because I am not guilty. Carlos DeLuna was given the death penalty. Hey, Brandy OG.
Brandy.
Carlos DeLuna was put on death row on the eyewitness testimony of one man, Kevin Baker, who had seen the fight inside the Shamrock and watched the attacker flee the scene. Yet when Baker was questioned 20 years later, he said he had not been sure about the identification as he had trouble telling one Hispanic person apart from another. Excuse me?
That's ridiculous as hell.
All right. There were two different descriptions. One eyewitness said it was a Hispanic male with a mustache wearing a flannel jacket and a gray sweatshirt. The second eyewitness said they saw a man in a different outfit running about 2 blocks from the gas station. Detectives failed to carry out or bungled basic forensic procedures that might have revealed information about the killer. No blood samples were collected and tested for the culprit's blood type. Fingerprinting was so badly handled that no usable fingerprints were taken. None of the items on the floor of the gas station, cigarette butt, chewing gum, a button, comb, beer cans, none of that was forensically examined for saliva or blood. There was no scraping of the victim's fingernails for traces of the attacker's skin. There was a man's shoe imprinted in a pool of blood on the floor, yet no effort was made to measure it. The murderer had left his calling card at the scene, but it was never used. Even the murder weapon, the knife, was not properly examined, though it was covered in blood and flesh. Other photographs show blood splattered up to 3 feet high on the walls of the gas station counter. Yet DeLuna's clothes and shoes were tested for traces of blood, and not a single microscopic drop was found. The prosecution said it must have been washed away by the rain. Less than 2 hours after the murder happens, the police chief in charge of the homicide investigation ordered all detectives to quit the Shamrock and allowed the owner to wash it down, sweeping away all vital evidence. Exactly.
You've got to be kidding me.
I am not kidding. This is all for real.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
insane.
yeah, I kept reading this and I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, there it is, y'all.
Yep.
Kind of reminds me of Idaho a little bit.
Right?
Truly does.
And
Not one drop of DNA found, but they still did it.
Yep.
You know? Right, Fizzy. That's why people that bingo. Thank you. That's
Right.
crazy.
This picture, I'm going to show you.
Thank you, love.
Dang it. Get my stuff. This is the 2 Carloses.
Well,
They're pretty identical.
yeah, they really, that's
They-
kind of wow.
Yeah.
Minus the Jesus, the hair's even the same.
Right.
And they both have thin mustaches. I mean,
Both
there's
Hispanic. They're both names Carlos. I mean,
that's okay. So see, this is where the mistake can happen, but
this is why you can't trust eyewitness testimony.
no, nope, and you can't make mistakes on something like this for that reason.
Yep. So this is Carlos DeLuna, the one that was arrested. This is the one that actually murdered her, which is Carlos Hernandez.
That's too weird to me. Sorry.
Right.
they look like they could absolutely be brothers.
Yeah.
That's some scary stuff.
Um,
So, granted, yes, I can see where a mistake could be made, but you still, this is somebody's life. You can't just make a mistake and go, well, sorry, you know?
right. And the thing is when the manager came back to the store, he made the comment that all of the money was there. So it wasn't even a robbery per se, even though they found money on Carlos DeLuna. But that was his hit from his paycheck. I guess he
It was his own damn money. Right,
Yeah.
right. Jesus.
Let me make sure I get the audio on this.
Travesty. This is great, Mama Bear. I'm really enjoying this. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
So this is a video of from his sister
Okay.
when they were doing interviews and stuff for the documentary. Let me know if you guys can hear it okay.
Carlos was a follower. He was a follower.
You louder.
Carlos could never. You have different kind of categories of people.
Hold on. Let me check one of my settings.
I agree.
Me go into my. Oops.
Same problem.
I don't know if that'll do anything or not, but we'll try it. Let me back it up. All right, let's see. Let me know if that's any better.
Carlos was a follower.
Better?
He was a follower. Carlos could never.
Not really.
You have
Really
different kind of categories of people, and Carlos was never the instigator. He told me he didn't do it. I asked him, Carlos, did you do this? I asked him when he was in death row. I asked him, did you do this? He said, no, I didn't do it.
Throw up the
Do what?
Can you throw up? I don't know. Close.
Oh, closed captions. Yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay. I have my volume really loud. Let me try something different.
Everything okay?
Sorry, guys. Can you hear me? Because I just switched from my headphones to the mic. Okay, so you can hear me. Okay. Now, let's try this and see what happens.
Carlos was a follower. He was a follower. Carlos could never, you have different kind of categories of people. And Carlos was never the instigator. He told me he didn't do it. I asked him, Carlos, did you do this? I asked him when he was in death row. I asked him, did you do this? He said, no, I didn't do it. If you would just go to Corpus, this is where this guy lives. His name is Carlos Hernandez. He committed the crime. Manuel, that's my older brother, knows this Carlos Hernandez. And I kept saying that over and over to the attorneys. I kept saying that over and over. And they were saying that that was a lie. There was no Carlos Hernandez, that they hired private investigators. There was no Carlos Hernandez. It's a made-up name. There's no such thing.
Is it still echoing or did it stop?
I was hurt for a very long time. And when I think about it now, the pain still comes back, thinking, why was this allowed to happen? Why? Because Carlos should have not been executed. He should have not been executed. They executed the wrong person. I know they executed the wrong person. He should have not died. And I know he was afraid. I could not go in that chamber and watch my brother be killed. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it even though the other family members wanted to do that. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't watch him be executed. And the time of the funeral, when I saw Carlos in that casket, was the saddest day of my life. Having to watch him be buried. Every time I go to Corpus, if we have to go there for whatever reason, it just brings all that past memories. And all I want to remember, Carlos, is that moment that he hugged me. And he said he loved me. I saw the peace in his face, even though he was afraid. That peace in his heart. And that's the reason why I don't even want to even go back to Corpus and see that grave of my brother, because I know he should not be there. He should have never been executed. Never.
That's absolutely horrible. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the whole neighborhood could hear you. Hold on.
It was pretty loud.
I had it as loud as I could.
Sorry. That's beyond horrible. That was an absolute 100% innocent man that was murdered because he looked like somebody else.
Right. And you'll see the term Ticayos, and that means twins or have the same name.
Los Ticayos, Carlos, yes. Wow. Wow. That'll pull on your heartstrings if nothing else does. Damn.
Yeah. Okay, I think this is one.
Yeah, Quinn, you're right. Sad doesn't do it justice. That's no lie.
This next one, I believe, was one of the eyewitnesses. Oh no, it was the retired sergeant detective. This one, audio.
It was a few weeks after the crime had been committed and Carlos DeLuna had been arrested and charged with capital murder in regards to this case. The information that we got that Carlos Hernandez had gotten someone else to take a fall for him in regards to this crime. Approximately 2 or 3 weeks, there was talk from a couple of my informants that the person that they had arrested for this particular crime was not the person that had committed the crime. The person that had actually committed the crime was Carlos Hernandez, and Carlos DeLuna was the person that was being held for the crime itself. And these informants, like I said, relied on information that they had received by talking to some of the people that they congregate with in the streets. I contacted the detective in charge and informed of the information that I had received, but the detective itself said that they had enough evidence linking Carlos DeLuna to the crime itself. So I just backed away from it and let her work her case. So I knew that there was a Carlos Hernandez. If somebody got up and testified that there was no Carlos Hernandez, there sure was, and I can testify to that because I arrested him several times. Carlos Hernandez was mostly always assaulting women, assaulting guys, and his weapon of choice was a knife. He always had a knife on him, and most of the time it was cutting up people or hitting them with a beer bottle or something, but he was always involved in mostly violent crimes. The crime scene itself was not processed properly. There could have been someone else identified as committing the crime, and there was evidence that was stepped on by the investigator that was at the scene. And to me, if you just stay out of a crime scene and talk to the witnesses outside and secure the scene and let just identification take, whether it be 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days, just to be at that scene, processing the scene, I think that the results of this case would have been totally different. There was too much evidence that could have been obtained that was never even touched. There had to be one stain of blood somewhere, as much blood as it's at that crime scene. There had to be one speck of blood that they could have connected. Carlos DeLuna, yes, you were at the crime scene. This blood matches Wanda Lopez, and that was not there. That if I was sitting in a jury, I could not convict with the evidence that was presented in court, with the evidence that was collected. I could not assure anyone that that was the person that committed that crime. There was always a doubt in my mind. There will be a doubt in my mind because after going through all the evidence that was presented, I don't see how anybody could get a conviction with the evidence that was available to convict Carlos DeLuna of this capital murder case.
Even the sergeant said nope. Mm. So Carlos DeLuna was then scheduled to be executed on December 7th of 89 at 10:50 p.m. Less than 2 hours before he was to be executed, he makes a phone call to a woman named Karen. She was the reporter on this case that he had befriended. He told her, quote, "They are going to execute an innocent man." Carlos also called his brother and told him that Carlos Hernandez murdered Wanda Lopez and that he knew who he was, just like his sister said in that video. You know who this is. You know, he's from the same area. They grew up together. When it was time, they brought Carlos into the room and strapped him down. The first injection is supposed to put the person to sleep. Well, with Carlos, that didn't work. He raised his head off the table and looked at Chaplain Pickett and then laid his head back down. The second injection is supposed to paralyze the lungs. Yet again, it didn't work, and Carlos raised his head again and laid it back down. The third injection is to paralyze the heart. This time it worked, and Carlos DeLuna was executed. The death house chaplain Pickett prayed with DeLuna, as he did with all inmates facing execution, allowed DeLuna to confess and make his peace. DeLuna, he said, insisted he was innocent. DeLuna was the 33rd death row inmate to whom Pickett ministered, and in the years that followed, he would minister to 62 more. But this one stayed with him always. How DeLuna claimed he was innocent, how he took longer to die than most inmates, how he tried to raise his head from the gurney and speak to Pickett before the lethal injection left him lifeless. When I saw him die, Pickett said, part of me died too.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I have his videos. He has 2 videos.
I have a couple things on this too. If you don't have enough, I can run for you too. It's up to you. Whatever you have.
We'll do the chaplain's videos, and then we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. On mute.
So I agreed to work for a year. And I went to prison and
You guys may have to crank up your volume. Sorry.
worked 16 years. Never filled out my paperwork, but I worked there for 16 years at the Walls unit. And 2.5 years later, after I started work there as my ministry, then they scheduled an execution. And Texas became real active in doing executions. And we were the first in the United States to do any lethal injection executions. And those days we were executing at midnight. They bring them in early in the morning. My responsibility was to be there when he walked in. I was to be the face that he saw outside of the guards. That was important because every inmate distrusts guards. And all but one out of those 95 talked to me. Of course, there were 50, 60 more that came in and got stays. But as far as going to the table, I did that 95 times. I'll never forget Carlos. I had questions before I ever met Carlos about Carlos's guilt or innocence. The average convict will not stop a block away and hide underneath the truck. I mean, if they're going to run, you keep running and running and running. And we began to talk privately. And many of the convicts between 10:15 and midnight confessed to a lot of things for which they were not convicted. And I began in the beginning saying, oh, some of them are just bragging. But I began to check them out with friends of mine without telling them they were true. There's a lot of confession. And he said, I didn't do it. That's as clear as a bell to me. During the day, before 12 o'clock, he didn't eat lunch. But before the day, he wanted to know if he could call me Daddy. If it would hurt my feelings. Because he had never had anybody stick by him who was in a fatherly position. And I felt like if he could call me Daddy, that would be fine. It sort of shook me up real bad. Daddy is a little bit beyond just father. But he was willing to discuss anything after he got permission to call me Daddy. And he said, will you be with me, Daddy? He said, I'll be right with you. Will you hold my hand? And I told him before I got in there, I said, there are only certain times I can hold your hand. Only certain times. And this was the only inmate. All of them asked me to maintain contact. You know, I'll wipe their brow, or don't let anybody see sweat, things like that. But Carlos wanted me to hold his hand. I fully believe Carlos DeLuna was an innocent man. And I will always believe that. And there's nothing worse in the world, to me, than to execute an innocent person.
Should be right.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, and then the other half.
Do you want to
Well, they brought me in.
send me a link?
People are so quiet.
Huh? Do you have a link? And I'll try to hit my side. Can you hear me? There we go. That's better. If you have a link, I can try to run it from my side and see if I can make it louder.
Okay.
Maybe back chat if you have one. If not, no worries.
I don't.
No way to link it. Okay.
I mean, I could email it to you probably. Here, let me try that real quick.
Okay.
That was the second one to pick it.
Let me know when you send it.
Okay. Okay, I sent it. It has no subject.
Takes a minute for me to get them. As soon as I get it, hold on here. I don't understand why this takes so long for me to get emails.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I got it. Let me download it real quick. Let's see what we got here. Mm-hmm. Is this the Carol Pickett? Or is that the one you just played?
Yeah, it should be part 2
Okay. Gotcha.
or video 2.
Let's see what we have. See if this works any better. You have to mute because you know it echoes. So.
Well, they brought him in, and they strapped him down. And I stood right next to him, and he kept looking at me. I told him it's going to take.
That any better?
No.
Hey, hold on. All right. Let's see if this works.
My knowledge, it'll take 9 to 12 seconds for that first medication to go to work.
Nope.
And you'll be totally.
It's just really low video quality. That's all.
So
Doesn't matter.
holding his right hand.
Crank your volume.
Executioners, 2 of them came in.
It's all the way up.
One big tall man and one short man. And they always started with the left arm. And they put ace bandage around the hand and tighten it down, and sometimes tape. Then they would go for the vein right in the middle. And they would, most time they were successful, most time. But it's traumatic to watch. It was traumatic to watch. Because I had told Carlos DeLuna, I said, that was going to be the only pain. That's all I had seen before. But he said, I just want to thank you, Daddy, for being my daddy for one day. Well, I couldn't cry. No, I never have been able to. And I wasn't supposed to, first of all. And Carlos gave his statement, which is, I have his accurate statement. Kathy has his accurate statement. The book doesn't have his accurate statement. But it was very sweet, if you want to use that term. It was very sincere. He loved his family very much. And he was sorry that it ended up like this. But we had been talking all day about how his life had not been a good life. And he just messed with the wrong crowd, with the wrong people at the wrong time. And then he told the guys out on death row to hang in there. And he looked up at me, and he had big old brown eyes. I'll never forget those brown eyes. I can dream about his brown eyes. I saw the fluid changed for the drop, and the sodium tripentothal started. And I had told him, I said, it's going to be 9 seconds, you'll be asleep. Well, about 10, 15 seconds, he raised up his head. Our heads aren't strapped down in Texas. And he looked at me, and it really hurt me. Because I knew the time had passed. The other guys had gone to sleep. They had given their cough, or whatever it was. And then he lay back down. And I wonder to this day, what was he thinking? And then about another 10 seconds passed, and he raised his head again. Nobody ever done this. Those big brown eyes wide open. Here I'm 5 inches from his knee, 5 feet from his face, and he's looking straight at me. And I don't know what the question was in his brain. I don't know what he was thinking. If I wanted to be paranoid, I could say he was thinking, you lied to me. But he was not that type of person. So, I could imagine a million things. And then he lay back down. And I saw the bubble come at 24 seconds. And the pabulon started. And that's what froze his muscles. And his eyes closed. We waited. And I saw the next bubble come. And it was the potassium which froze his heart. And he was pronounced dead 10 minutes after the first drug. They used to keep records, and they tried to beat 6 minutes. His was 10 minutes. And that's what hurt me, that those 24 seconds were hard.
You still awake?
Yeah, whole time. It's very interesting to me.
Yeah, 10 minutes. Isn't that crazy?
Beyond crazy. It's insane. And it's absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. You got anything?
The next video is the television reporter that he befriended, that he called right before. Also.
Gotcha. I have. I have the 23 years later. Justice finally came on the thing afterwards. If you want it.
Okay, cool. Well, welcome back, SRB.
Too late. Excuses. Just kidding. Welcome back.
All right. Let me know how this sounds.
Because I started to look at Carlos a little differently over the years, that, maybe he was not this monster they made him out to be. I started to see him more as a human being, and I didn't want to see him put to death. So he did end up calling me. I guess it was just about an hour or two before his execution, and he told me that I was his last phone call. And you can imagine getting that phone call from him, and you're thinking, this man is about to die. Why did you choose me as the last person to talk to, aside from the people that obviously you'll be around right there? I gave him the opportunity. I guess Ever the journalist, I gave him the opportunity to say anything that he wanted to say, perhaps to get it off his chest. If he wanted to admit that, maybe after all this time, yeah, I did commit this crime. I said, Carlos, is there anything you want to tell me? Do you want to tell me anything about what really happened? He said, no. He said, Karen, they're putting to death an innocent man. And then I think at that point it really hit me that maybe they were, because he had nothing to lose at this point. Maybe get it off his chest and tell one human being. Again, he had the perfect opportunity to sort of cleanse his soul and tell somebody, get it off his chest. And I might have been the perfect person for that, and that didn't happen. And I asked him. So I don't think he had anything to tell me other than what he told me. There was nothing to admit to. And I believe that. If we put to death one innocent man, then what's the point? I mean, you can put him away for life, but You can't say, oops, we goofed, after someone's been put to death.
Exactly.
Bingo.
Huh?
I said bingo.
And that's the thing, is if you're unsure, even just 1 millimeter of a thing on this, okay, then give them life. That way, if there is a thing and you figure it out, then you can reverse that. You cannot reverse death, period.
Yeah, there was only 6 years between his conviction and his execution. 6 years. That's it.
Wow, that's unheard of.
Yeah,
It's like they knew they made a mistake and had to hurry up and deal with it.
something.
It doesn't make sense. Not
No.
at all. I got a couple. Unless you have more, I have a couple quick clips to add to this for you too.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'll get the crime scene photos ready.
Oh, I have some of those too. Wow, cool.
Despite being innocent. This man suffered the torments of hell after being accused of a gruesome incident. But 23 years later, true justice would come for him.
One day the truth will come out, and I'm hoping it will.
It was February 1983 in Corpus Christi, Texas, and 24-year-old Wanda Lopez had become a victim of a horrifying attack at a service station. This was just the beginning of a story that would have a very different ending than expected. The woman had called the police seconds before, as the man made her suspicious of an assault. Then he went straight for her.
You want it? Okay, I'll give it to you. I'm not gonna do this to you. 2602 South. Armed robbery going down right now.
Who was really responsible for this atrocity? That was what the authorities wondered, until a witness gave a couple of descriptions of the perpetrator, and they found him quickly. The man was named Carlos DeLuna, and they took him to the service station, where the witness recognized him immediately, even though there was no forensic evidence to incriminate him. What really happened here? DeLuna was taken to jail, and at his trial he would assert what he had said from the beginning. He was completely innocent.
I just wish, people would do something about it and look for somebody, look for that person, and do something about it.
However, no one took responsibility for the matter. Carlos was ignored, and in 1989, he was sentenced to death. But years later, the unthinkable would happen. In 2012, a lawyer decided to dig deeper into the case, because apparently there was another person involved in this incident.
Carlos DeLuna said all the way along, I didn't do it, I saw another man do it.
What exactly happened? Lawyer James Liebman spent years reviewing the evidence and interviewing witnesses, with even more precision than the police themselves. After that process, he could assert that DeLuna had not been the culprit, and something much worse.
What we can say happened for sure is they had a lot of evidence that another man did it, and they didn't go look.
And so it was. The prosecutors dismissed the fact that DeLuna had no biological traces on his clothes after the incident, for example, and the police even had indirectly manipulated the scene of the event, in addition to hiding photographs with key information for solving the case. On the other hand, the witness who incriminated DeLuna later confessed he was not 100% sure of his testimony. So, who could have been responsible? The man DeLuna referred to was Carlos Hernandez, who lived in the same city and had a revealing criminal record. The implement with which Wanda Lopez's life was taken was indeed Hernandez's, who had already strangled another woman in the same way 2 months earlier. Hernandez passed away in complete impunity. But this case confirms to us that sometimes it takes longer than expected, but justice always arrives. Remember, always be eager to know more.
There's that. What was the other thing I had here with this too? It is SRB. It's crazy.
It's very crazy.
All right. Do you have something you want to put up, or do you want me to run this other thing real quick?
You can run the other thing real quick.
Okay. This is just, again, another news piece on this. I thought these were interesting. This is actual footage, ABC News footage from that night. While the news, I'm sorry, not the news break about this, sorry.
A Friday night in Corpus Christi, Texas, 8:05 p.m., and a call comes into 911.
I have a suspect with a knife inside the store.
It's Wanda Lopez, a 24-year-old single mom working as a cashier at a roadside gas station, and she's worried.
What's he doing with a knife? Has he threatened you in any way?
Minutes later, Wanda Lopez calls 911 again.
You want it? I'll give it to you. I'm not going to do nothing to you. 2602 South Padre, got an armed robbery going down right now. Get out of him.
Lopez is stabbed to death in a vicious struggle. It's just one of many crimes that occur in this country every year that end in the death penalty. But now this killing from 30 years ago is raising the most provocative question. Does the death penalty in our country always punish the guilty, or are mistakes made? Is it possible our system has killed an innocent man? Carlos DeLuna. Police rush to the bloody scene and find there's an eyewitness who entered the store just as the killer left. A description is broadcast immediately across police radios. As Wanda Lopez is rushed to the hospital where she dies from a knife wound to the chest, police find 21-year-old Carlos DeLuna a few blocks away, hiding underneath a truck. He's brought back to the scene of the crime where an eyewitness positively IDs him. Even though there are no fingerprints, no physical evidence linking him to the scene, he becomes the lone suspect. At trial, he testifies another man committed the crime, but Texas seeks the death penalty and gets it. DeLuna is executed in 1989. To his last breath, he swears he did not do it.
But he doesn't feel he should die for something he didn't do.
I just wish, people would do something about it and look for that person, and do something about it.
No one did until now. Meet James Liebman. Do you believe Carlos DeLuna was actually factually innocent of murder?
I do.
He didn't do it.
I believe that. Looking into it, Carlos DeLuna said all the way along, I didn't do it. I saw another man do it.
James Liebman, a law professor at Columbia University, has conducted one of the most thorough reviews of a capital punishment case in U.S. history, spending years digging into DeLuna's case in a way no one, not even the police and prosecutors, have.
We're convinced that the state of Texas executed the wrong man.
And he thinks he can prove it.
What we can say happened for sure is they had a lot of evidence that another man did it, and they didn't go look.
That other man is Carlos Hernandez, says Liebman, the man Carlos DeLuna identified as the killer, and the man prosecutors never pursued, despite clues Liebman has now unearthed. To check out Liebman's claims, we went to the Texas town that was rocked by this heinous murder so many years ago. This was the scene of the crime. It was a Shamrock gas station and convenience store. It's now a car dealership. But it was here on a lonely night in 1983 that Wanda Lopez was brutally stabbed to death. And these grisly crime scene photos, which Liebman developed after they lay unseen for decades in police files, are crucial new evidence, he claims.
We found photographs that were not shown to the jury, not shown to the defense, that we found 20 years later.
One of the most shocking photos shows a detective standing on top of possible evidence.
You can see she's stepping right on top of a napkin that was knocked off of a surface onto the floor. Could have a fingerprint on it, could have blood on it.
She's just tromping through the crime scene.
Right. Just tromping all over it.
Liebman argues it's impossible. None of the blood would have been found on the murderer.
Carlos DeLuna's clothes were microscopically tested, his canvas shoes, his pants, his white dress shirt, and there was not a microscopic speck of blood on there.
He also points to a bloody footprint.
This is the killer's calling card. Nothing at all was made out of it.
That footprint could have helped to exonerate Carlos DeLuna.
Yeah.
So Carlos DeLuna was executed without any physical evidence against him, but what about those eyewitnesses? One man, Kevin Baker, stood face to face with the killer, and later that night was brought to the squad car where he positively ID'd Carlos DeLuna.
The man stood there for about 15 seconds looking over the shoulder of a taller police officer and then said, yeah, that's the guy, get me out of here.
That's pretty strong, isn't it?
No, it's actually quite weak because people can make a mistake, especially under stress and especially in cases of cross-racial, cross-ethnic identifications.
In 2004, Liebman and his team tracked Kevin Baker down and taped their interview with him.
How certain were you that night?
Probably 70%. It wasn't 50-50, it was more, but I will say this, one of the police officers did mention to me, we found this guy hiding underneath the car without a shirt on, 2 blocks north of us.
If they had not said that, would you be less than 70% sure?
Yes.
Okay. Where would you say you'd be if they hadn't said that?
It would have been a 50-50, I think.
Okay, so there was no blood on Carlos DeLuna, and now the key eyewitness is doubtful. But then there's this. Liebman has unearthed a previously unheard police radio tape indicating officers may have chased another man before their attention was drawn to DeLuna.
Also, witnesses are saying he had a white untucked t-shirt. I don't know if it's another suspect or the same one.
But the most shocking new evidence Liebman discovered, Carlos Hernandez allegedly boasted he was the killer. He looked a lot like Carlos DeLuna, and unlike DeLuna, Hernandez was a known violent criminal who liked to use a knife on his victims, one similar to the one found at the crime scene. 2 women overheard Hernandez bragging, but they were never questioned by police.
Me and Priscilla were sitting on the steps, on the very top steps. So we overheard that, that Carlos Hernandez had hurt Wanda.
He was bragging to Javier, my uncle, that he had hurt somebody.
I was scared because of what I had started to put 2 and 2 together and what Carlos Hernandez had did to me.
Can't hear you.
Sorry, the stupid microphone. Anyway, I just want to make a quick draw your attention to something real quick, guys. That Mama Bear put this together in a period of time that was nowhere near as long as it took them to investigate this case. I found these things, put this together. Neither one of us have a degree in criminology, law, anything. And we can see that this is not what it is. Why couldn't they? Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Lopez.
From the moment he was arrested, Carlos DeLuna said he didn't do it, and later he testified in court that a man named Carlos Hernandez did, but his claims were dismissed by the prosecution. DeLuna's defense lawyer, James Lawrence, met us in the same courtroom where DeLuna was tried and sentenced to death. Lawrence says he tried his best.
What do I have to counteract anything? Had we had that other tape, good gosh, I got something. Because then you could have said, was that the Carlos Hernandez that we've been looking for? Yes.
The prosecution team declined to speak with us on the record. Rose Roton is DeLuna's sister.
I've always known Carlos was innocent. It's just that we did not know how to help him.
She said her final goodbye to her brother on December 7th, 1989, right before he was executed by lethal injection.
At the end, he said, I'm innocent. You're executing the wrong person.
It's what he said all along.
Maybe one day the truth will come out, and I'm hoping it will. Because if I end up getting executed for this purpose, I don't think it's right.
He had dreams until the end, too.
I was to get out, I think I would try to preach the word of God, man, because I've learned that while being here, that's the only way, man, that I can make it now.
Carol Pickett, the death row chaplain, always felt DeLuna was innocent, and he watched him die on the gurney.
He lay down and he said, will you hold my hand? Well, I said, I'll hold it.
What's the lesson for the rest of us?
You need to look at the whole picture. What is it accomplishing? It's not deterring crime.
Carlos DeLuna is long dead now, Wanda Lopez too. But their tragic story may hold an eternal truth.
What I really want to come out of this is simply for the American public to make a judgment about how real the risk is that we can take innocent life in a case like this. And we really have no idea how many other cases there are that are just like this.
And that last statement that he made right there is the key. We have no idea how many other cases there are out there that are just like this.
Right.
Unbelievable story. Completely unbelievable.
Exactly, SRB.
Yep. Very hard to watch, you guys, and to know that this happened, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And she's right. This is why we do. This is what I said earlier. This is why we do what we do. This is why we struggle through the case, like Delphi and in Idaho specifically. These have been like, we struggle within ourselves, you guys, when we talk about these cases and look at the things that we bring forward on these cases, because we want to see the truth. We don't want to see something like this happen, you know?
Right. So this is some of the crime scene photos. So you can see the cash is on the floor, and right here, right there, he left his knife.
Wow.
Knife.
Which should have fingerprints all over it.
Exactly.
That's unbelievable. See?
And there's the footprint they were talking about.
Mm-hmm. That's probably it, that they never did anything with. That's the clue. That's the...
Yeah.
That would have changed this whole thing, folks. That and the fact that they would have fingerprinted the knife.
They went off of eyewitness testimony, Fizzy. That's it.
And you saw the pictures. Did Fizzy see the pictures, the side-by-sides of those two? I think she came in later. But they're so close, Fizzy.
Whoops.
Yeah, botched eyewitness. Completely.
There's a beer can. There's
And the man said...
moved it, but...
Right. The man said if they wouldn't have told him that this guy was hiding under a trailer...
Oh, she didn't see it.
Yo, you saw, okay. But that's what I'm saying. They look so similar. I could see a mistake there, but if that's the case, then you do a little bit more work, you know? Right. Agreed, Fizzy. Agreed. Me too.
What? That picture's not supposed to be in there. Hold on.
This is really, really a great show, Bear. Very informative, very interesting.
I'm going to show this just because.
Trigger warning.
Yep, trigger warning. There it is. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Let's see, what was the other? Oh, the one where they showed as well.
Oh, yeah, where she's standing on a piece of evidence, yeah.
Yeah.
Such a joke.
Tromping around.
Well, again, this relates to Idaho, folks.
It does.
You know, the same crime scene handlings type stuff, you know. I mean, it makes sense. Thank you, Alicia. It makes sense. It absolutely makes sense as to how these mistakes can happen. But therefore, again, with technology and the things that we have at our fingertips nowadays, there's no excuse for this anymore. None, in my opinion. And truly, back then, there isn't either. If you do your job, you know, there shouldn't be any excuses.
Wanda had a 6-year-old daughter.
Yep. Beyond sad. Definitive proof that citizens can see, not just what they say there is behind closed doors. The trust is broken. Yeah, 100%, love. 100%.
I mean, to take fingerprints and they're so horrible they can't even do anything with them. I mean, that's just.
It's like they were in a hurry to hurry up and just be done. And then Mama Bear said earlier, they came in and completely told him, how long was it? Then just said to clean it all out.
I think it was the same night. Let me see.
Yeah, completely destroying everything.
Less than 2 hours after the murder happened, the police chief in charge of the homicide investigation ordered all detectives to quit the Shamrock and allowed the owner to wash it down, sweeping away all vital evidence. Less than 2 hours.
It took 9 days to process the Idaho crime scene. Less than 2 hours.
Yeah. Let's see. As far as Carlos Hernandez, let's see.
It absolutely could, Fizzy. Absolutely.
The information on him, he was an alcoholic with a history of violence who was always in the company of his trusted companion, a lock blade buck knife. Hernandez was arrested 39 times, 13 of them for carrying a knife, and spent his entire adult life on parole. Yet he was seldom put in prison for his crimes. Several of the crimes Hernandez committed involved robberies of Corpus Christi gas stations. Just a few days before the Shamrock murder, he was found cowering outside a nearby 7-Eleven, wielding a knife, a detail that was never shown to DeLuna's defense. Hernandez also had a history of violence towards women. He had been arrested twice on suspicion of the 1979 murder of a woman by the name of, and I'm probably going to butcher this, and I apologize, Dalia Sauceda.
Sauceda, sounds right.
Who had been stabbed and then had an X carved into her back. The first arrest was 4 years before DeLuna's trial, and the second was while DeLuna was on death row. Yet the connection between this Hernandez and the quote-unquote phantom presented to DeLuna's jury was never made. October 89, just 2 months before DeLuna was executed, Hernandez was arrested and sentenced to 10 years imprisonment for trying to kill with a knife a woman by the name of Dinah Yanez. Even then, no one thought of alerting the courts or Texas State as it prepared to execute DeLuna. Hernandez himself often told people that he was a knife murderer. He had made many confessions to having killed Wanda Lopez, the crime for which DeLuna was executed, joking with friends and relatives that the gallo had taken the fall. His admissions were so widely broadcast that even Corpus Christi police detectives came to hear about them within weeks of the incident at the Shamrock gas station. Yet this is the same Carlos Hernandez who prosecutors told the jury did not exist. This was the figment of Carlos DeLuna's imagination. He did die of cirrhosis of the liver in a Texas prison in May 1999, having been jailed for assaulting a neighbor with a 9-inch knife. I think you guys saw Carlos DeLuna's last comment kind of thing in his television interview was, maybe one day the truth will come out, he said, from behind reinforced glass. I am hoping it will. If I end up getting executed for this, I do not think it is right. And eyewitness misidentification is the single greatest cause of wrongful convictions nationwide, playing a role in more than 75% of convictions overturned through DNA testing. To prevent future misidentification, Texas lawmakers passed legislation to improve the way police conduct live and photo lineups. Because they had supposedly looked up every Carlos Hernandez, that had been arrested in like the 10 years. Brought them all in, put them in lineups, photo lineups, and DeLuna's like, no, it's not him, it's not him. And then, 20 years after the fact, this Liebman guy with the Columbia Law School, they hire a private investigator, and within hours they found him. Like, really? Come on now.
Hours. 20 some odd years. Yeah. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
Wow. What a story, guys. Just is there anything more you're adding to Mama Bear?
Let me.
Phil had sent something on this a while back on the death penalty. If you had no issues, I was going to read it because she had requested it.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is something Phil, for all those of you know, Phil, she's amazing. She's very, very smart.
She's so awesome.
Adds quite a bit to what we do here, guys. I appreciate her very much. It says that it's more difficult to impanel a death penalty certified jury, meaning 12 deliberating plus at least 6 alternate jurors that will assert that they have no issues with imposing a death penalty. Should the state meet its burden and prove guilt, it is even more difficult to find that number of jurors that know nothing of the case, prove no favoritism, and thus survive being stricken for any one of the myriad of reasons which range anywhere from race, age, career, education, or lack of harbored feelings about the players, the process, the length of the trial, sequestration, and of course the several stricken without cause allotted to both legal teams. That is a lot, isn't it? Well, after all that, the jurors sign a statement certifying that they will uphold their duty if the defendant is convicted. A death penalty certified jury is 95% more likely to convict if the death penalty is allowed sentence. Shocking, I know. Then the same jury would be to convict given the same case being presented with the death penalty being removed from the possible punishments. So right here, you can see why it is imperative that the defense team fight tooth and nail that it removed. The additional length and cost of investigating the mitigation factors alone, notwithstanding. In addition to all of the aforementioned details of just preparing for the trial, a death penalty sentence triggers automatic appeal and often is followed by decades, and this is facts, decades of legal filings before all remedies are exhausted. In short, if the death penalty is still an option, a conviction is 90+% more likely. Please, if you find inaccuracies in the comment, by all means, let me know. And then she throws in the end that she studied at Oriani, Burkhart, Tragos, Baker, and Bailey, and interned with the uncivilians at the Recovery Addict Center, directed by attorney Melanie Little et al. And by the way, Oriani, Burkhart, Tragos, Baker is Peter Tragos, Lana Oriani, and quite a few others. So, but she's right, guys. I mean, I'm torn. I've always been torn. This makes it worse. Okay. About the death penalty. Are there other ways that we can deal with this and these crimes that are committed? Like I said, my biggest issue with this, folks, is when children are involved, I get angry. I get so angry. And I want to see something bad happen to the person that committed the crime to the children. But at the same time, I step back and like Mama Bear's statement there at the bottom that she had scrolling about, why do we kill people to teach them to not kill people? Who kill people to teach them to not kill people? Think about it, There he is. Why do we kill people who kill people? To teach people that killing is wrong. It's a great statement. It's a great question. It's a fact. All wrapped in one. So, regardless of what your outlook is on it, I'm not saying it's wrong, because It's not. Nobody's feelings on anything like this is wrong, but
No.
it's just you got to question it sometimes. And when we see how many innocent people that go to trial, that get convicted, that end up losing their lives, that are basically murdered for never committing a crime in their life.
Yeah.
It's just insane to me.
Yep. It's had my wheels spinning ever since it popped in my head. And I'm like, and like I said in another comment, every time I look at these cases now, Brian Koberger's in the back of my head, and I'm just like, I don't know if he's innocent or not, but the similarities are just too much.
Too much. It's true. Very, very, and just like Richard Allen didn't get the death penalty, but he might as well have.
He might as well, yeah.
He might as well have. His life's gone, and that man, from what we've all seen, I think we all can. There's quite a few of us that don't think so, but most of us can tell based on how we followed that trial that he's innocent, folks. And his life is. He might as well have gotten the death penalty because his life is gone.
Yeah.
His family's gone. He has nothing. It's very sad that Tandy just said, but these people have to sit like animals before being found innocent and treated like animals. You're right, Tandy. That's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, by the way, love. That was a very nice comment that you made there. So proud of.
Yes, thank you.
Beyond thankful for everyone out here, like Mama Bear Dago and Outcast, for bringing the truth to light for those that don't want to put energy in. Thank you very much, Quinn. That means everything to all of us to do this. I promise you.
Yeah, and I'm assuming he's around our age, and so even if they do the appeal and everything, by the time it's said and done, he's going to be an old man and his life is going to be done. And he willingly went in to talk to them
To help.
to
Right.
help. And
This is what he gets for it.
yeah,
Blows my mind. Our justice system is beyond broken, you guys.
beyond.
It's so broken that I don't know if it can be fixed. But
Yeah.
even if it can't be fixed, there's no way that we can just sit back and let these things keep happening without at least saying something, bringing it to the surface. Like she said, bringing truth out of these stories and showing people, hey, this is really going on in life, in society. It's real, folks. It's not a joke. It's not pretend. It's not something that you just close your eyes and go, it'll go away, because it doesn't.
No. And a lot of the people that end up convicted and on death row and that are from lower income families that don't have the money or means to get decent representation that will give a damn about them and their life. Because I guarantee if Carlos DeLuna was a rich man, it probably wouldn't have happened.
In that case, it's so pathetic. There weren't that, like, me and you could have solved that. Okay.
Right.
That's how ridiculous it is. That I agree with, Busy.
Yes, he did. I just hope she hasn't taken on more than she can handle with 2 death penalty cases and
I
doesn't
agree.
end up screwing.
Taking away from him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And she is damn good. But she's also doing 2, and that's a lot.
Can
in
you
my opinion.
imagine?
No.
Can you, if Carlos DeLuna would have had someone like Ann Taylor, he'd be here right now. I can guarantee
He
you.
would have laughed in their face and been like, "Are you serious?"
Right. Yeah. Granted, things have come a long way, folks, from back in 1983, but this stuff here was common sense. I mean,
Yeah.
literal common. Like I said, Mama Bear and I could have went in and solved this probably that same night.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, it's ridiculous.
I want to look into him more. I have watched a lot of his stuff. I think he's got some psychological issues, but I'm not sure.
Who?
So that's in my opinion. Let me put that out there. Wade Wilson.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely some psychological stuff going on there. I mean, think about his reaction just in general to just life. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some detachment there. Truly.
Yeah.
Wow. See, there's a difference though, love. This is where I get torn. When you have people like Leilani Simon, Wade Wilson, Boswell, Casey Anthony. I'm sorry to say it, but there's quite a few people like this. This is where I get torn on the death penalty issues and things, like mostly when it comes to kids. Wade Wilson, though, like Wolf. Okay. That there should be, first off, we need more mental health help. Okay. Yep. And services, resources for people, because a lot of things that happen are based on mental health issues. And how do you approach that? If it's a mental health issue that was never treated because it was ignored, because it was pushed off, blown off, how do you feel about that at that point? Then when somebody does commit a crime, that it's almost as if they couldn't help themselves per se because they didn't get the help they deserved, but you're still angry about the crime they committed. So,
Here's where I go back to, let me think of the case. Was it the Slenderman case? The girls were just released.
Yep.
So, I mean, what makes it different from them being, what's the word? Not reinstitutionalized.
Rehabilitated.
There we go. Rehabilitated and released and an adult. I mean, couldn't you put, I don't know the extent of his psychological issues. It may not be fixable. But I'm saying, couldn't they put him in a mental hospital to see if he could be rehabilitated?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
I think the difference with those two cases, the Slenderman case, those girls were, first of all, they were children still. Their minds were being molded based on internet bullshit. Yeah. Okay, there's that there. But there could still be, and luckily their victim recovered. That's good. But that's a good question, though, the way you put that. It really is,
I mean, we're sitting here, we're talking, just a couple months ago about the Mendez brothers being rehabilitated and being released. So what's the...
I guess it depends, Mama Bear, on what happened in the case. Like the Menendez brothers, they could have left. They could have just walked away. They didn't have to kill their parents. That's my opinion, of course. And not everybody's going to agree with that, and I respect that. But they could have just walked away. I understand, it caused mental trauma, all that, but you didn't have to do this. You could have walked away. You could have went to the court systems or law enforcement, done the legal thing, so on and so forth. You didn't have to do what you did. So that's my feeling on that. But at the same time, there's mental trauma from certain things that are done. And I understand some people just don't have the ability.
Yeah.
So that's where the counseling, the therapy, and all the stuff like that, being in a hospital and getting real treatment for something needs to come into play, I think. So if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I agree that his mental health problems were greatly exacerbated by his drug use, for sure.
Big time. Anybody that would write all over his face like he did, good God.
That was... Oof. When I saw the before picture, I about fell out of my chair.
Well, then you have people like Daryl Brooks. Okay. Right. Look at people like Daryl Brooks, that he drove into a crowd of people and how many, I don't remember how many people he killed, but why? What was the reasoning behind that? What goes on up here? Once again, I think this is a lot of these cases are based on mental health issues. that either they're misdiagnosed, undiagnosed, or they're not ever seen, period.
Yeah.
You
Because
don't
maybe they don't have insurance. They can't go to a doctor. I mean, and the steps that you have to go through, the hoops you have to jump through to even get some of the testing is just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we've been screaming this for years, though, Mama Bear, and you know this, that we need so much more mental health resource and availability out there for people that need it. Because I think that crime has become so much more exasperated and so much more prominent because of the fact that mental health is not being treated. It very much so.
Yeah, I agree.
The way it should be. So,
yep,
that I have to agree with, and totally stay is one of our biggest problems right now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, love.
Which one, Fizzy? Wade Wilson or Daryl Brooks?
Oh, I know who he is now. Oh. Ground. Just that'll figure. You'll figure it out there.
I object.
Ground. Objection. Suppression. Ground.
And Boone.
Oh. That has to be mental health right there too. Okay, there's no decision making processes. Okay? When you wake up in the morning, you get out of bed, you walk in the bathroom, you use the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you comb your hair, you walk downstairs, you make your coffee, you make your breakfast, and you go on about your day. That's what most of us do.
Yep.
When you decide to drink some alcohol as a grown-up 50-year-old woman, and throughout your day, you choose that I'm going to drink tonight. Okay, fine. Then you're going to play hide and go seek with your mate, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, and zip them into a suitcase. Where is your decision-making process leveled at, folks? Okay?
Right.
And then just forget about them. No. These things are what I'm saying. Like, there's mental health cliffhangers out here that definitely need touched upon. Hey, Stitches.
Hey, Stitches.
And a lot of times you have to look backwards. Like I said, with the mental health issues, you get to look back at families, at the way people were raised, their society, the lifestyle that they live. All of that stuff is involved, but it definitely needs to be made important right now. Yes, she does, Busy. That's
Yeah.
Ooh, God, that was wow. But there's so many of them out there, and then you have whoever committed the crimes in Idaho, whoever that was. What? And here, we're gonna go somewhere else before that. She didn't. Did she ever? No.
Well, she didn't like him. She tolerated him enough to get through.
She didn't have a choice. That's why.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, whoever committed the crimes in Idaho did it out of vengeance, hatred, whatever. That's what it looks like, at least. Is that mental health, or is that just, which I still feel like anybody that carries those feelings around has a mental health issue, but is it clearly mental health, or is it just the heat of the moment situation like that?
Yeah.
How are you to differentiate that? That's why we need more mental health resources. And I'm telling you, I feel like if we had more at our fingertips and at a just rate of being able to get to these things on a regular basis all the time, I think law enforcement officers should be trained in mental health issues. I think that paramedics, EMTs, firefighters, anybody that has any kind of contact with the public should have that kind of a training, period. Okay? And I think that it needs to be something that is done regularly, period. Retraining, done again and again and again.
Yep.
Because I think that if it were to start being implemented into society more often, that it could slow down, maybe even the crazy, insane crimes that are going on day after day after day after day after day. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But the end of that story, though, is that it costs all sorts of money that nobody ever wants to spend. And I don't mean like the patients. I mean police departments and government offices. You know, they don't want to spend that money to give that training. So in turn, we're just going to keep having these things happen again and again and again and again.
Yeah, and you know, like, let me pull out another one. It's not a death penalty. Well, to some extent, I see it as a death penalty. But Tyrese, that was beaten and murdered by the cops.
Oh yeah.
You know,
She likes horses.
it wasn't necessary at all.
That still relates to mental health for me, for those officers.
Yeah.
That there's something wrong in your brain to make you act that way.
Yeah, and to be so happy and proud and celebrate what you just did after the fact.
Yep, Tyree Nichols, that whole situation is
Yeah.
absolutely, there's no,
Why I always want to call him Tyrese.
I see Alicia put it in there too. Tyree? Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
So again, yeah, none of it ever needed to happen, because why are you so angry? Why is everyone so angry? Okay. Everybody's so angry nowadays that this is what happens. The violence is insane for no reason. Absolutely no reason. Mental health issues, I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh, love, are you serious? Actually, I kind of remember hearing something along those lines, but it didn't fully pay attention to get the whole.
I don't think I quite understand the end of this. Proof of life photo because Wade signed his POA, power of attorney, to some what?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So his dad can't even get proof of life, whether he's dead or alive.
That's absolutely insanity. See? And he should be being treated for these things that are obvious mental health issues, and they don't.
Yep, you're right. We are on a rat wheel, making the rich richer and working to the bone.
So, Mama Bear, when people are sent to prison, what is it for?
It's punishment for a crime.
And what is the goal when you go to prison besides punishment? Unless it's for the rest of your life or death row. But if you go in there for 10, 25 years, whatever, what's the goal after the punishment side of it?
I mean, you would think that it would be to figure out what the issues are that caused you to do that and to correct.
Yeah, to be rehabilitated, right?
Yeah. I can't
So
remember that word.
You're okay. You're okay. So when you go to prison and nothing happens, and you come right back out and recommit the same crimes again and again and again, there's no rehabilitation happening. Okay.
Exactly.
So then where's all this money that goes into these prisons for all these programs and all this BS that they're telling us that's going to happen when you go to prison? Where's that at? Why is it not happening?
It's going into the government's pockets and politicians and
And
whoever
paying
else.
paying the warden of the prison $250,000 a year as a salary. Seriously?
Right.
No, that's the problem. They don't rehabilitate in prison. They don't. They reactivate, is what I say. Once you do your time, they put you back out on the street and reactivate your crimes. That's what it is. That you go back out and do the same damn thing, and they reactivate the person as a criminal because they've not tried to help you. It's bullshit. And then at some point, you got somebody that's committed 2 or 3 armed robberies, 1 or 2 sexual assaults, and then they commit the big one because they're not being helped, or they're not being stopped, they're not being shut down, and they're done. Their life's over.
Yeah, I
Not
couldn't imagine either, love. That would just be horrible.
Steve and his family have to suffer harassment from both sides. They have no control over Wade. Yeah, good point. Good point. It is horrible. So anyway, that's just my input on this, guys. It's a very important, like Phil said before she left, it's a very important topic and subject, and it's very interesting to me the way this all plays out, because again, How many people, if you guys remember any of the numbers that Mama Bear gave you and we showed you on the different charts and stuff, of these people are innocent, proven to be innocent, or will be proven to be innocent, that are just sitting here waiting to have their lives taken. That's very scary, just like Brian Koberger.
Yep. Richard Allen.
Absolutely. Karen Reed, if they would have had, if they have her convicted on this, I guarantee you they're going to look for life, at the minimum life. Okay. Her life's gone.
And that is very, very true, Tandy. They do that because they've been in there for so long. They don't, or they go in at such a young age.
They don't know how to live.
That they don't know how to live outside of the jail in the real world.
I had a patient, guys, years ago that was a repeat offender that we would pick up all the time because he was either getting beat up, attacked, just hurting himself, things like that constantly. They had been in prison by the age of 25 like 10 times. And he told us one time in the back of the ambulance when we were taking him to the hospital, my one partner was like, "Why are you always in trouble, Dan? You know, why? It was like, I can't help myself. I don't know how to live out here. I've been in prison since I was 10 years old."
Yeah.
And you know, that's their only way they know how to live. They only know how to live in a 3x5 square cell, eat their meals under being forced to do it, and being directed by people telling them what to do every day. That's sad because that's what these people live. Yes, very true. So
yeah, it's hard for them to get a job as well. I know someone that has multiple felonies and he can't get a job, but yet they don't ask,
they
what
don't
is the felony for? Because if it could be something very simple, but it still falls under a felony, and
it should be classified differently, Mama Bear. I agree with that. Like if you have multiple DUIs or something, that doesn't make you a murderer. Okay. And you should be able to get a job. Just because you have DUIs, you can't drive, so be it. That's your deal. You find a way to work, but you can work. Right. And they won't hire you just because of that. They shouldn't be all classified in the same bucket. Okay. Because you've been in jail 5 times for DUI, that doesn't make you a common criminal. You just have a drinking problem. So,
right.
They need to have, the whole system needs to be reworked, and they need to make it into a true rehabilitative situation. Add the mental health aspect to it. Give education more than they do.
Yep.
And give them resources. I'm not saying, and don't get me wrong, because there's certain criminals that I feel like doesn't deserve to breathe oxygen, folks.
I agree.
Okay. There's certain ones that do not even deserve to breathe the same air we do. That's different for me. But others that have just committed larceny or stole a car, have drug issues, DUI, things like that, they don't deserve to lose their entire life because they made a few mistakes when they were young, or because they're going through a hard time and they made a few mistakes there. Give them a break. Give them the opportunity or the chance to make life right. They don't do it.
No, they don't.
It sucks. It really does suck.
It really does.
Great conversation. We could probably come back to this again and
oh yeah, definitely
way more to it because it's a definite problem and a definite issue that we definitely need to be paying attention to and showing more and more on. So
yep, I got a list of names, and we can go through those and pick which ones we want to do, and
that can relate to child like what the hell's the word I'm looking for? Okay, Dago, come on now.
Habitual offenders.
Habitual offending children, adults, children that became adults that are habitual offenders, blah, 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 blah. So there's so many different variations of this that to bring this out to people to help them understand how and why this happens.
Yep.
The big deal though for me are the people like you put out today are the wrongly convicted. That's a problem. Yeah. With all those numbers, guys, I never imagined. I didn't see what she saw as far as how many people are actually in there. Those numbers are insanely too high for me.
Yeah. That's what my eyes just went, what?
Yeah. That's very sad.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this one. I went over 45 minutes, but that's okay. It was a good conversation and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So we will do it again.
You were only trying to run 45 minutes?
No, I told you I wanted to try and go 2 hours. I went
Oh,
45 minutes
5 minutes over.
over.
I see what you're saying. Gotcha. My apologies. Because I thought you were like 45 minutes, and I'm like, oh, wow, we screwed that up a long time ago. Right. No, if it's my fault that we went over, my apologies. I didn't mean to. It's a really,
No, it's
really
good.
interesting subject to me. Yes.
Yeah, very interesting subject too.
Agreed, Tanny. That's a great statement there. Some that are wrongfully convicted will end up breaking a law to go back. Yeah, that's what we're talking about a few minutes ago. Absolutely, Tandy.
Hi, Tomboy. I'm glad you joined us at the end. Better late than never, honey.
Thank you, Alicia. Yes, I hope you guys did enjoy this. Mama Bear did an amazing job on this.
Thank you.
Very impressed with this. You did so great with this. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, there'll be more.
I cannot wait.
All right, well, guys, you have a great rest of your night, and I'll just say I'll see you soon, because I'm not sure what's going on yet.
Please make sure you guys hit that like button when you leave. Share this out and tell everybody to come check this out, guys. They'll definitely be impressed.
Yes, please do. I appreciate it, and have a great night. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks again.
In the flicker of a neon light, truth hides deep in the dead of night. Voices whisper what they can't say, shadows dancing, leading us astray. Bloodstained whispers on the air, clues unravel but don't play fair. 1,000 faces with hollow eyes, the truth's a ghost that never dies. Chasing shadows through the grime, searching answers in the crime. Twisted paths we walk in vain, the truth's a counter, we're the game. Empty rooms with secrets loud, lies are woven into the crowd. Fingers pointed, no one's clean. The truth's a thread, sharp and unseen. Every step's a deeper dive, the past won't let the present survive. A puzzle's pieces soaked in sin, the truth's a battle we can win. Chasing shadows through the grime, searching answers in the crime. Twisted paths we walk in vain, the truth's a counter, we're the game. We're the game. We're the game. Chasing shadows through the grime, searching answers in the crime. Twisted paths we walk in vain, the truth's so hard to turn, we're the game. Chasing shadows through the grime, searching answers in the crime. Twisted paths we walk in vain, the truth's so hard to turn, we're the game.